All right. Okay. So what I want to talk about today, we spent a lot of time talking about the syllabus, but that's okay. It's the first day of classes. We don't have to kind of do anything specific. It's more important that you understand, the logistics of the course, and I do want to answer all your questions. If I feel that we're very behind after, a few weeks, I'll let you know, and maybe we'll change a few things. But for the first day of classes, that's fine. So what I want to do today is I was hoping that I would kind of talk about databases, but we'll kind of have to wait and see if there will be time to do that. But the first thing that I want to talk about is the command line. So when you access databases, which we haven't talked about, but databases essentially is a place where you store the data. And you have to design it, you have to implement it, you have to connect it to your kind of application, whether it's a website or just a kind of standalone application. This has to be designed. And usually the way you design this is through the terminal, so through command line. So typically you would kind of write commands to create maybe a database or a table or to insert data. We'll have to kind of talk more about that soon. But what I'm trying to convey here is that we have to be a little comfortable with the command line. We have to be a little comfortable with the terminal, and we have to be able to navigate in the terminal. Otherwise, it's going to make our life very hard. So I want to spend some time right now, and I want to talk about the terminal. I want to talk about the command line, and I want to show you some commands. I want to, discuss with you. Maybe you know the terminal. Maybe I'll do a few polls. I'll ask you a few questions as we do that. But it's very important that you all know how to kind of navigate the terminal. And the way I want to do that is by using a Linux terminal, which is really the same as the Mac terminal. We can use the Mac terminal, it's fine. But the way I want to do it is through a web browser. I used to be in the past, I used to have students kind of install virtual machine, VirtualBox, and then virtual machine, and then kind of a Linux box that has a terminal, but really that's just a lot of work. And what I want to do is I just want to Google web Linux terminal, and I can share that with you if you want. Let me change that. Where is that? I actually don't see that. Let me try to stop the share and try again. Web Linux terminal. Oh, here, yeah, I found it. Okay. Let me look at the chat to make sure there's no questions here. So, okay, let's see. So Anthony's saying, is there a place, or rather, will this process be similar with Windows? Which process? Kind of the terminal? So the Windows has a terminal. It has something called the DOS. It's called PowerShell. I mean, right now they call it PowerShell or the command prompt. And it's very similar, but it's a little bit different. So some of the commands that we're going to learn today do not actually work with Windows. I can tell you what the other commands that work with Windows are, but that's okay. Most of them will be the same, yes. Some of them will not. And I can mention what the ones, but we want to learn the Linux terminal. So the stuff that we're learning is the Linux terminal. For your computer, it'll be almost the same, but you might have to Google a few things. That's just because it'll be hard to kind of cover each different kind of command prompt or terminal. For the most part, it'll be the same. You might have to Google a few things, but we're going to really cover the Linux terminal, which is more popular. It's the same again. It's almost identical to the Mac terminal, and it's used more in the industry. Let's see another question. If we need to download anything for this class, will you post it on Canvas? Yeah, I mean, I'll let you know. I'll keep you updated with everything. As long as you look at the announcements just make sure that you check the announcements. Do you guys get an email when I make an announcement on Canvas? Do you get an email or? Yeah, you get an email. So it's perfect. Just make sure that you check your email. I will always kind of make announcements for things. But I'm going to have to, again, assume that you check that at least. All right, so that's good. Let me open this link. So CoCalc, I actually checked this website earlier today. I don't really use it because I have a Mac and I use the Mac terminal, but I want to show you the site because if you have Windows, you might want to use that. And I'm going to just say run terminal, and it'll just, you can see there's something that I created an hour ago just to kind of experiment. And I'm going to click on it. And well, I'm not going to kind of spend too much time here. Let me just say, okay, I'm going to click here. And this is really the terminal. It says .term, and it's really the terminal. And I'm going to click here. All right, nothing's happening. Okay, here, I'm going to clear the screen. So at first, this is really what you're going to see. So when you open the terminal, this is what you're going to see. And you can do things, just the same things that I can do on my computer. And this is really what we're going to start. Let me open my notes and see, do you guys have any questions while I open my notes? I want to make sure that I cover the stuff that are in my notes because those are the ones that you're going to be seeing.
There were 2 questions in the chat. One was, is the terminal in Python? And the second one was, do we need to open the terminal?
Actually, let me go back. I think these maybe are good. Let me make sure that I answer those questions. So, okay. So, yep. So is this terminal in Python? No, that doesn't really, that's not a very good question. I mean, this question doesn't make kind of a lot of sense because the terminal has really nothing much to do with Python. So the terminal is a way to kind of interact with files, interact with applications. So you can, of course, interact with Python through the terminal, but it's just an interface. It's a non-graphical user interface. It's essentially a text-based interface. And you can do pretty much everything. I mean, you can do a lot of things through the terminal. So is the terminal in Python? That's not a, that question is hard to answer because it's ill-stated. Now, if your question is, has the terminal been built? Like, did we build the terminal in Python, in the language Python? And the answer is no. Those terminals are low-level applications and they're built in C. So it's a very low-level application. So they're built in C. The other one, do we need to open this terminal? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I have my terminal open and I want to kind of show you some of the commands. Again, you can use your terminal. So let me show you here. I'm going to open my terminal. And I'm going to kind of switch to my terminal. So this is, for example, this is my computer terminal. Do you see it? Do you guys see this? This is yep, you can see that. I can do things like, clear. I can just say, for example, pwd. That's a command that we're going to talk about. So this is just a terminal. However, and if you have Mac, you have this terminal. And if you have Linux, you have this terminal too. But if you have Windows, you might not have a very similar terminal. It'll be a command prompt. And I'm just using the browser just to kind of show you that you can use the browser. That's it. Right now, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to follow along. You just make sure that you understand kind of what I'm explaining. And if you have questions, you can ask me. Again, those lectures hopefully will be recorded. But not to say that you want to get back to them. It'll take actually a lot of time to get back to them. The best thing would be to try to understand everything here and now. And then if you need to, you can to some of them. But don't feel that you don't want to kind of pay attention because those recordings are being recorded. Those sessions are being recorded. I don't think that would be kind of a wise strategy. The best thing would be to kind of try to understand what I'm saying. So let me go back to the, is that good, guys? Do you have any other questions? Does that make sense? Are you happy with kind of what you're hearing?
So if we're on Windows, we're gonna have to just use that terminal, the page that you're on that says "Welcome to Cocalico."
Yes, if you want to practice, the best thing would be to use this. And of course, it's good to use your command prompt, but some commands will be different, and that's fine. You can Google them. You can ask me. I'll try to talk about them today, some of them. But you do want to practice both because your computer is Windows. You want to learn how to use the command prompt in Windows too. All right. Let me see. Okay, so I'm not seeing really any other questions. So let me. Someone want to say something? Jesse, your mic is unmuted. Did you want to say something or?
No, I don't understand why it keeps unmuting itself. I don't know, but I was about to type a question. So would you recommend that we do run a Linux like a virtual machine or dual boot into Linux or something for this class? Would it make it easier on us in the long run or no?
No, I don't think so. I think you wanna get comfortable with your Windows command prompt. But if you want to practice kind of all the commands that we covered, you want to use something that looks like this. But no, I'm not a fan of running virtual machines. It's just too heavy. And sometimes it's kind of problematic actually, depending on the hardware that you have. So it's just a lot of overhead. For me, I don't recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the first command, hopefully it's not kind of too small, but let me know if it is. The first command that we want to talk about is pwd. So pwd stands for print working directory, and it tells you where you are. So if you do pwd, it says that this is called the root folder. You see this first, this is called a /, not a backslash. Let me try to kind of zoom in. This is a /. And this essentially indicates the root folder. So this is where your computer kind of starts. And we have a folder with the name home, and we have a folder with the name user, and this is where we are. So print working directory is going to tell you where you are. You're always somewhere in one of the folders. Now, you can create another folder inside user, or maybe to the next to user. Now, again, because this is a web kind of terminal, it might not allow you to do everything, but I'm pretty sure that it'll allow me to create another folder inside user. Because I'm inside user, I can create a folder. And the other command that I want you to know is mkdir, and this stands for make directory. So we actually don't use the term folder, we use directories in Linux, which is fine. You can use folders or directories, but you'll see more directories. So I'm going to make directory and I'm going to give it a name. Say, for example, hello folder. Okay, it's very simple. I'm going to hit enter. It didn't complain, so I'm assuming that it created that folder. Now, how would I know whether it created that folder or not? Anybody knows, like how, let's say I want to check. Anybody here knows a little bit of terminal? I think some of you should know. I expect, okay, so you can see here, some of you mentioned ls. So ls is a command that does not work in Windows command prompt. And I'll tell you which one kind of works if you want, but ls stands for list. So I'm gonna list like this. And if you list, it'll actually give you all the stuff that we have inside this user. So we have this a.txt. This is the file that I created. We have this folder, and we have another thing here that looks like a text. I really haven't seen this before. This is used in kind of the web. This was there, when I created this web terminal. But that's okay. We have at least three things here, three objects. Now, one student, Paul, said that we can do A. And we can do that. And A is going to actually give us more detailed view of what we have. So if I do list with the option A, this is the terminology that I'm going to be using and the terminology that people use. It's the correct terminology. You say option A. So you say, okay, I want to list with option A, and that's going to give you, actually, it doesn't give you more detail. It shows you the hidden files and hidden folders. So what you see here is some files or some folders that start with the dot, and anything that starts with a dot is hidden in Linux. So this is hidden, hidden, hidden. All of that is hidden, and that's why you didn't see them when I did list. So list by itself does not show hidden files, and list with A shows hidden files. Okay. So Najaf is saying that you can, use something for Windows. That's good. You can read some of those chat comments. CD, okay, let's see. Okay, so let's, guys, try to, I want you to use the chat, but let's not kind of overwhelm the chat window with so many. We don't want it to be very distracting. I think it's good to kind of, send something from time to time, but we don't want it to be kind of distracting to the other students. For example, Asim is asking a good question. When we use make directory, how does it know where to make that folder? And some of you probably know the answer. It's going to make it inside the folder that you're in. So pwd tells you where you're in. So this terminal is always kind of inside somewhere. It's not going to be kind of floating. It has to be kind of referring to a place. And because we're inside user, it created that folder inside user. So that's the answer to Asim's question. When you do make directory something, it'll create that something inside the current directory, which is user. So that's good. Do you guys have other questions? So we just talked about a few commands, right? We're moving slowly, but that's okay. So pwd ls, and then the list with the option A, which shows hidden files. Now, if you do list with the option L, that's going to give you a more detailed view of the things that you have. So here we have the 3 objects. Now, this doesn't show the hidden files. This shows, the 3 non-hidden files, and it tells you some information about them, like when they were created, whether they're a directory or not, because sometimes it doesn't color it. Like here in this case, you can see the folder or the directory is actually colored differently. It's colored blue, but sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it doesn't color it. And for you to know whether it's a directory or not, you can list with the L option, and the D here will tell you that it's a directory. Yeah, so let's see. Let me pause here, see if you guys have any questions. Okay, it doesn't seem that you have questions. Well, I noticed dashes. Why are those needed? Well, those are used they're part of the syntax, and they're used to specify the option. It's almost like a parameter. It's like when you call a function, sometimes you have to pass like an argument. So these are, just you can think of them as arguments to a function, and they're needed. You wouldn't be able to do LSL like that. That's not going to work. Yes, so the recordings, again, the plan is to chop them into pieces and post them by tomorrow evening. That's the plan. So we'll see. Hopefully that plan will work. All right, cool. So I want to get rid of this file. Let's say I have this file, or let me get rid of this folder, because this file, I created it earlier. Let me get rid of this folder. If you want to delete this folder, you can say RM, which stands for remove, dir, remove directory. And you can say hello folder like this, and you hit enter. And again, if you list right now, you notice that hello folder is not here. Is that clear, guys? Do you kind of see what I did here? I deleted hello folder, and then I listed. You can see hello folder is not there. So I'm just kind of doing basic manipulation of kind of what I have. Again, we need to kind of understand the basics of the terminal. Now I want to create another folder. So I'm going to say mkdir, and I'm going to say maybe ITCS3160. I can do that. And if I list, you can see that it says there's a folder ITCS3160. Now, because this is a folder or a directory, I can go inside it. I can go inside that folder. So where am I right now? Well, I can do pwd. You can see I'm here. I'm inside user, which happens to be inside home, which happens to be in the root folder. So it's the first kind of folder. I'd like to go inside ITCS3160. I can do that by doing CD, which stands for change directory. And I think some students mentioned this before. We can do CD space ITCS3160. So there's something, guys, that I do and that I love, but some students just don't like for some reason, you know, from my experience kind of teaching, some students just don't want to use it, and it's the tab. The tab, I don't know if it'll work now because this is a web terminal, but the tab continues for you. It kind of auto-completes. So I'm going to try it. Let me type tab. You see what it did? I started with IT or just I, and I do tab, and it continues for me. And I like that, and I use that a lot. But some students maybe like to type, so they wouldn't want to kind of, you know, use the tab a lot. But I think it's very convenient, and it prevents kind of mistakes, right? Sometimes you do a spelling mistake. That way, you know, it's easier to do it and make sure that it's correct. This / is not needed. You can keep it or you can leave it. But I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to get rid of it. And I'm going to hit enter. Now notice here that something changed here. And that's essentially telling me that right now I'm inside ITCS3160. And I can, of course, pwd if I want. We know this command. And it'll tell me that we're actually here, inside here, inside here. So that's all should be clear. Let me see. There's a question here. Are we going to be learning command prompts as our first topic? Yes. So what we're doing now, I'm going to spend a little bit of time, not the entire class, hopefully, talking about the command prompt and the terminal. So that's what we're doing. Okay, guys. Do you have any questions about this? Okay, so let's talk about this kind of tilde. Can I call this tilde? I think I can. This kind of tilde, this one is used in Linux to refer to the home directory. So in my computer, the home directory is my name, which would be, you know, Ayman. But here they give it the name user. But really, in your directory, it would be kind of your account name, which would be maybe your nickname or username or your name. And this tilde refers to this place. Okay, guys, so this tilde, which is the home directory for this account, is referred to by this tilde. And I'll use it in a second, but let me look at the chat window. How do we path back to home user? Okay, that's good. Colin wants to know, how do we go back? That's a very good question. Anybody knows how to do that? Maybe some of you know. I think, okay, so here's John saying cd ... or cd ... Paul is saying cd ... And this is what I do. I usually do cd ... So again, change directory, ... and I'm gonna hit enter. And if I do pwd, right now inside user. Is that good, guys? Is that clear? Okay, do you have any questions about any of that? Anybody knows? Okay, so let me list. I'm gonna list now. And let me go inside ITCS3160. I'm gonna say cd space IT. I'm gonna use the tab because I like it. And this time I'm gonna leave the / just to show you that it'll work. And then I'm gonna do pwd, then I'll look at the chat window in a second, but I'm gonna look at pwd, do this, and you can see that I'm here. Okay, that's perfect. So in the chat window, Asim is asking, does / has any difference it makes? Not in this, not now. Maybe if there was a file that has the same name, maybe we need the /. I'm not sure actually. We can try kind of a few things, but I almost never use the forward slash. And I'm pretty sure that I never do this. So that is kind of, I wouldn't do that. Jesse, you want to say something?
No, it unmuted me again. I don't know what's up.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Okay, so Paul is saying it used to go to a folder within a folder. That's correct. So if you use it in some way different than this, you can go inside kind of nested folders. So let's say ITCS 3160 has another folder. You can go inside that, using one command. So we can do that in a second. But I do have a question for you guys. I want to go back to user. Okay, guys, I want to go back to user. How can I do that? Well, you told me that you can do that with cd ... Okay, I'm happy with this. But is there another way that I can go to my home directory? So this is my home directory for my user. Anybody knows how to do that? How can I go to my home directory without using cd ... without going kind of back? cd ... is going to go back. CD question mark. I don't think, I don't know what CD question mark is. Okay, so then the Nanji and some other kind of folks are saying CD tilde, and that's correct because this tilde here is the home directory. So when you do CD tilde like this, it'll actually take you back to, if you do PWD, you notice that I'm back to user. So this is the home, and you can use it. It's very useful. You can go to home, quickly. Oh, so the question mark was me questioning. That's good. So that was a good guess. CD something. That's good. So does CD only bring you back to last folder? Oh, CD ... Yes, CD ... is going to take you back. So if I do CD ... I don't know if I'm allowed, but if I do CD ... you can see I'm right now in home. So if I do PWD, it's telling me I'm in home. If I do cd ... I don't know if I'm allowed. You see I'm allowed. If I do PWD, you can see I'm in the root folder. I can't go back. This is the first folder. You can think of it as a tree. Folders are usually represented as a tree because there's no loops. Like a tree is a graph that has no loops. Maybe you've studied that in data structures. So it has a root and it has many kind of children that have children. Okay, I want to go back to here. I'm not comfortable here. I'm not very comfortable in this location. That's not my home directory. I don't want to create files or folders. Let me kind of go back to my home directory where I'm really comfortable. I can do that by doing cd space tilde. That'll work. But what I want to do is I want to do what Paul suggested, which is to use the / to go to a nested folder. So I'm going to say cd space, then I'm going to go to home, then / user. See what I did here? I'm going into user from the root, kind of in one command, using one command. Instead of doing cd home, then cd user, I'm going to home user like this, and that should work. So if I do this, and if I do pwd, you can see that it's home user. Do you guys have any questions about this? Okay. Okay, so the idea here, I'm going to do it again, but in a different kind of place, for a different place. Okay, so let me pwd. Right now, if I list, you notice that I have this folder, ITCS3160. What I want to do is I want to go, let me see. So let me go into, okay, let me do what Najaf is suggesting. I'm going to go into ITCS3160. And if you do PWD, you see this. Now, if you want to go to user, you can do cd ... That'll take you back one folder. Or you can do cd tilde because, user is my home directory. So you can do it. You can do whichever one you want. Do you guys want me to do something? Is there So that's kind of what we did, what just Najath suggested, but do you have kind of other questions about this? Here, if I do cd tilde, if I do pwd, I'm in my home directory. No. Are you able to change what your home directory is? No. So Aiden is asking, can we change home? Not really. So if you're logged in as a particular user, that's your home directory and you don't want to change it. And I don't think you can change it. I've never seen it being changed by anyone, so I don't think you can. So it doesn't matter whether we use cd ... No, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You can choose whichever one. But let me tell you when sometimes it's better to use cd tilde. Let me go inside cd ITCS 3160. Let me pwd. You see, I'm kind of trying to show you step by step what we have. So this is where we are. I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to say make directory, and I'm going to say section 52. And then I'm going to go inside cd section. I'm going to use the tab. You see how fast I am when I use the tab? Okay, so now if I do pwd, I'm inside section 52. So the question that McKinsey is asking, cd ... goes to the previous or to the home directory? It goes to the previous. So now if I do cd ... it's going to go back here. Is that good, guys? Do you understand that? So cd ... is going to take me one back, and then I can do cd ... again, and I can go to user. So let me show you that cd ... You notice here that I'm here. I mean, it's obvious that you can see that it's here, but I can pwd, and you can see I'm here. And of course, I can do cd ... again. And right now, if I do pwd, right now I'm in user. Exactly. So cd ... goes one back. cd tilde goes to the home directory of the user, which is called user here. Okay, so that's good. So let me show you one more example. I'm going to go into cd ITCS. I'm going to go to section. And right now, if I do cd tilde, you will see that just with one command like this, I'm going to my home directory. So if I do pwd, that folder is my home directory. All right, do you guys have other questions about any of that? So let me get rid of this folder and this folder. So the way I'm going to do it now, before we take a break, is I'm going to go inside this, get rid of that. Then I'm going to go to my home directory and get rid of that. So I'm going to kind of go one at a time. So I'm going to go to cd ITCS. If I do, of course, list, I see that I have one folder. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to say remove directory. I'm going to say section, and I'm going to hit enter. And right now, if I list, you see there's nothing here. Let me go back one folder. Let me list. You can see I have a few things. I want to get rid of this. So let me do rmdir and ITCS. And if I hit enter, and then if I have list, if I list, you see that it's gone. So I just got rid of both folders. Oops. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? I think we can take a break. We still have to talk about the terminals. So we may end up, talking about the terminal all day, maybe. But that's okay. Do you guys have any questions before we take a break? Okay, so here's a question by Aiden. If we were to remove ITCS first, would it just delete both? So that's a very good question. So Aiden's saying, why did we have to kind of go inside ITCS and then remove the section? Why not just get rid of ITCS and we would get rid of the section? And the answer is yes, you can do that. You can do that. You can get rid of ITCS 3160, and that will get rid of both folders. Sometimes you have to use another command because the folders may contain things and you have to kind of confirm essentially that you want to delete that folder with everything in it. And you can do that with, there are kind of two commands that we can use. One of them is called forcing, one of them is called recursively. And we can talk about that after the break. Let's see, Anthony's saying, so the list just shows the subfolders. The list shows what's inside the current folder, which could be subfolders or files too. So files can be, of course, in the folder. How do we navigate to a folder that has a space in the name? That's actually a very good question. Now, I don't like spaces in folders, although I've been kind of, I haven't been kind of following that kind of convention, you know, in my folders, but I don't like spaces in folders because it makes things a little bit kind of more difficult. But Paul is saying you can surround it with single or double quotes, and that's correct. You can actually do that. That's one way of doing it. There are multiple ways of doing it, but one way would be to kind of surround the whole name with a single or double quotes. But that adds work, so I kind of don't like that very much. Do you use the underscore? You don't use the underscore when you navigate, but maybe when you want to name your folder, you can use an underscore if you'd like, instead of a space. Yeah, that wouldn't be kind of a bad way of naming folders. Spaces are just so convenient. You know, I like spaces, but when you're working with the terminal, spaces are just not ideal. Just like when you create variables, right? You don't want to have spaces. That's not going to work. You know, we computer science folks, we're used to that, right? We're used to not having spaces, so it's not going to be a problem for us. We have conventions and we're used to them. But yes, what Paul said is correct. You can use a single or double quotes around the name. That's good. Do you guys have other questions? All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop the share, stop the session even. I'm gonna kind of end the session. And after 15 minutes, we're gonna kind of start a new session. I wanna do this because it'll create kind of two separate recordings and it'll be easier for me to work with smaller recordings. So I'm gonna stop the share and I'm gonna end the session. And after 15 minutes exactly, so at 12:50, let's kind of reconnect and we'll continue. Okay, guys, is that good? Is that clear? Okay, all right, so let's do that. All right, I'll talk to you soon.